Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We're going to be chatting with Corey Atherton of Suncadia Real Estate. He's a managing broker over there. We've known Corey for probably about 10 years since we actually purchased in the Suncadia Lodge. And our family knows him as Mr. Suncadia because he does know everything about Suncadia and Tumble Creek you could imagine. And so we're looking forward to chatting with him about the updates, new developments, and then also what's the market doing over there in Suncadia. So hope you enjoy and it's useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. Thank you, Corey, for chatting with us today. I know we've pretty much done one, I think, every year, just kind of an update on Suncadia since we met you way back when. I always kind of look at you as Mr. Suncadia, just because I think it's been about 10 years, right, since we purchased the place at the lodge.
Gosh, yeah, probably. It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. It went by so fast. But you are the guru on, everything Suncadia. So wanted to touch base with you on how things are going, and then for you to kind of update everyone on different projects, the expansions, and everything that's going on there.
Yeah, no, thanks for the invitation, and I really appreciate everything you've been doing to educate buyers and sellers and the brokerage community with these webinars. And yeah, I've been here 12 years now. It's pretty crazy, but so it's been fun to see all the change and development over the years. And yeah, I think wanted to share the development team here at Suncadia put together a nice little slideshow that they shared with the homeowners association this winter. So, and it talks a lot about the projects that are in the pipeline, in various stages of design and mainly amenity, projects. So, it's the questions we get a lot here being the on-site brokerage as far as, like when's the next amenity coming? When's the next, restaurant coming? Things like that are common questions. So I thought that might be a good thing to tag on here at the webinar, and then certainly anything I missed, let me know.
Perfect.
Well, very good. Well, yeah, we'll just kind of go through this quick little these slides and see if there's any questions. But starting out, just kind of the Suncadia 101 is we actually have 6,400 acres here, and we're about two-thirds of the way through a 30-year county development plan. So what this map shows is kind of the residential neighborhoods. So basically everything kind of in the white has been platted. And then, the things in kind of the pink and the orange have been over the last, 2 or 3 years. So the more recent stuff, and then the blue is more of the stuff that's future plats with the county. See, and kind of the lower half of the map is Tumble Creek, the private side of Suncadia. And then the top half is the public side of Suncadia that a lot of people have made it through by now, and if not stayed. So that's kind of what's in the works over the next couple of years. And then, Ashley, you'll be able to kind of picture what all this is here. But this is the concept for the retail village that I know you've heard about, and a lot of other people have heard about over the years. It's starting to get more real, I guess. A lot of people ask when are they going to put a shovel in the ground? We don't know that yet, because it will all be, a lot based on kind of sales activity, because that's what gets ultimately reinvested into these amenity projects. But this area here is the lodge, the Suncadia Lodge, which a lot of people are familiar with. This is Glade Spring Spa. And then over on this other side is the current Suncadia Club Swim and Fitness Center and amphitheater, and kind of the pond where you can rent paddle boards and kayaks. So right now, this whole area in the middle is just that wooded area that's got the nice paths that people walk through. But that's the future village, kind of the retail core that people have heard about. Last year, they had these two great ladies out of Seattle that do consulting, kind of almost like a feasibility period or feasibility study to figure out what the right mix of retailers would be in a resort village like this. And they work in small downtowns all across the country and other resorts, so they have great resources. So that was last year. Money was spent on that last year. And then this year, a lot of money being spent on more of the site planning and architectural designs. So, looking ahead, again, it's all kind of budget driven. The sales activity, whether it's home sales, new neighborhood sales, that's ultimately what gets reinvested into these amenities. But the earliest would be next year, realistically,
Are they
just
thinking,
because of architecture.
yeah, are they thinking they might phase it out? So they might have like one phase and two phases, or is it something that'll all be done together?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's probably part of the discussion, yes. But this kind of area on the lower middle is the retail area, and then there's actually some residential mix that could be, that's being played around with up here that could potentially be like townhomes and villas, which would be fun, similar to the people that have been attracted to the condo opportunities in Suncadia and some of the other townhomes over the years, is just being real walkable to everything. We're hearing more and more where people just like to pull their car in Friday from Seattle and not touch their car until they go home on Sunday or Monday. But that's what kind of this upper half would be, kind of smaller townhomes and villas. And they've been talking to a couple of the residential builders here in Suncadia about, kind of trying to put some pricing on that, just trying to make it a real nice, attractive price point. But like this road here is Big Hill. These are those 11 custom Osprey Ridge sites that have some beautiful custom homes built. So kind of this outer area has been developed. It's just this middle part that's still the wooded area.
And can you just point to where Trailhead is? It's off the map, right, on the bottom?
Yeah, it's kind of right across the street. So
Gotcha.
this is the Suncadia Inn, the Prospector Pro Shop. So the driving range, and in the wintertime, it's the tubing hill is right
Gotcha.
here. And then the Trailhead complex is kind of runs right like this. Yeah.
Got it.
So this is kind of the ladies out of Seattle that were doing that, feasibility study last year for us. This kind of shows what they believe would be the best mix to have in that retail village, and it's kind of a nice visual. But I mean, in my opinion, and I think most people agree, is just that need for kind of that general store, kind of market where if you're staying or living here, something where you could grab I call it staples, but it's also beer and wine, which I think, we call those staples around here. But, the milk and the bread, maybe a little deli. But so that's certainly going to be a centerpiece. And then, kind of probably some sort of a family-friendly brewery restaurant. They're actually already having meetings with some Seattle restaurateurs and chefs. So they're having some pretty serious discussions already as far as who to fill that up with.
Right.
A friend of mine that has some storefronts in Seattle, they've been talking with him about maybe some sort of that lifestyle boutique, probably another coffee shop. But that's all pretty fluid right now, but they have a pretty good idea of, the space and what will go into it generally. Is that enough time on that slide?
Yeah, totally. That's a really good mix of everything that you'd ever need.
Yeah. And of course, you can always go into Safeway when you need to and Cle Elum, but it's nice to be able to just stay put and, grab something quick. And then a lot of these are just kind of the vision board concepts. So we're real fortunate, both with our newer managing director, who's been here a little over a year, as well as some new members on the development team. They've just been involved in some great, projects around the country with retail villages, even things like Yellowstone Club, places like that. So they've kind of created these vision boards based off other, communities, other, resort villages that they've seen. But yeah, it gets real exciting there. This lower middle, one element that they're talking about doing within the village is just another little kind of kids activity area. It could be a, splash pad, or whatever, not sure exactly what it'll look like. They're also kind of the through street that will go past the restaurants and things. They're kind of talking, about laying it out where you could also block it off, like in the summertime when everybody's out walking. You could have like a little, farmer's market, or just make it
Okay.
more walkable.
Yep.
Where maybe in the winter where there's snow, maybe you can have a little bit more of a pull up to the coffee shop and grab your latte and keep going. So
Fire pits everywhere.
yeah, have some different ability to as far as how that traffic flow works, going in and out. And for you and anybody else that's been up to the lodge, they'll probably change the entrance to the lodge a little bit too, just to kind of tie in with the village as you kind of go up towards the lodge.
Yep.
But yeah, thinking, real hard, as anybody in Seattle can relate to, just thinking real hard about parking, right? And traffic flow, and making sure that's all really well thought out.
And also seasons too, right? So a lot of this is like summertime, but also there's a big group of people that winter. And so what are the amenity spaces and how they're going to be used or transitioned during the winter months too?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, and it will, I always think of like the existing Glade Spring Spa, and then the outdoor amphitheater, which is the ice skating in the wintertime, and the Suncadia Club. Those are kind of the two cornerstones that have been there for quite a few years. It's just tying everything in with the rest of the village build out.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, and again, timing, I think for Ashley, people like you and other people in our brokerage community, anytime you bring a buyer over and they invest in the community, anybody that has bought and sold in Suncadia, those transactions, that from a corporate level, and I've seen this since I've been here, a dozen years ago, just that reinvestment is amazing. Is when that closing revenue comes in, that reinvestment to trails and restaurants and amenity updates and things like that. So that's where kind of the timing is
Gotcha.
driven by just how it's kind of market driven, right? The real estate market will kind of drive the timing of the village. But
Gotcha.
because of the managing director just knowing how valuable a retail village like this would be to Suncadia and Suncadia sales and Suncadia values, he's leading the way, leading the charge, and a big champion. So it definitely is. They're spending more money on this retail village design than has been, invested in the past 20 years. So
yep.
It's starting to feel.
It'll add a huge value over there.
But we'll definitely, we'll shout it from the mountaintops when we're ready to break ground. Make sure everybody knows, because we're all excited. But yeah, just the fact that they're sharing renderings, I think, is a big step. Starting to be more and more real. And then specific to the lodge, again, this is probably winter would be probably the earliest, just because it's so busy this time of year up there. It's hard to do any remodeling up at the lodge. But if for anybody that's come into that beautiful great room in the lodge at the big west facing Cascade view, there's that really cool 56 degrees lounge right there on the left. And what they're going to do is kind of reimagine that, really open that up. Right now it's really is pretty closed off in there, but really open it up, create a little bit better flow. Also reorient the bar, because right now when you're sitting there, if you're at the bar looking at the TV, the beautiful view is to your back. So they're gonna work on turning that bar around, so when you're eating there or having a drink, you're enjoying that view. And then also open it up a little bit more to the outside, also a little bit more of that patio space. So that's gonna really significantly change the look of that kind of entryway. And then there's kind of that hallway. If you go in, you kind of take a left down a hallway to like Portal's restaurant. that's all going to be just this open area looking towards the view and towards the bar. So
Gotcha. So the restaurant and the bar are kind of combining in terms of the dining and the bar open.
Well, this is still kind of 56 degrees for the most part that we're seeing, in this picture. But then, then it just a little bit more inviting over to Portal's restaurant. This is another angle. This is again looking back to the big fireplace that's in the great room, but this is looking from the other side, looking through 56 degrees. So that's where anybody sitting here at the bar will then be looking at past the bar to the beautiful view. A couple other things that we that's kind of in the works, just a little bit more of kind of a greeting area there at Portals. Kind of some nice, some different seating in Portals. So that main restaurant will be kind of refreshed also. And then if you're looking at this picture just to the right, that would be looking back to our little satellite office there in the Suncadia real estate. I think where I first met Mark was up there. Mm-hmm. So we'll have just a little bit more of an informational kiosk there where people can grab information, watch kind of a little lifestyle video if they want to. So that will be real easy to access if anybody wants more information on the real estate opportunities. And then some of this will start late summer, but out in the Nelson Farm area where a lot of the future development is, and we already have, it's the site of the historic Nelson Dairy Farm. A lot of those barns and everything have been preserved. They have a wonderful summer concert series out there. They have the Harvest Festival every year, which is the first 2 weekends of October. But so now they're playing around with a play area. The first thing being kind of a bicycle pump track, which would be a lot of fun. But just kind of an iconic playground structure. They're playing around with designing and some additional areas, just further enhancing that area as a destination. Nelson Farm Pool is super popular with the Wheezy River and poolside bar and grill.
The farm pool was completed in 2020 or 2021, or was it before that?
It was a little bit before that. I'm trying to remember if it was 2018, 2019. I remember, when this, Justin Bieber was there. He was,
yes, that's right.
And he wasn't married yet. He was only engaged at the time. So I don't know if that helps anybody. Doesn't help me, but yeah, that was pretty memorable, I guess, for some teenage girls anyway. But yeah, so the pump track will be the first part, that will kind of start going in the works late summer, fall. And then they'll just kind of and that will be more in phases, like you said, Ashley. So it won't be done all, the pump track will all go in, but some of those other playground pieces won't be ready this year anyway.
Right. What is an actual pump track? Is it just for like BMX bikes?
It's pedal bikes, but it's got kind of the little ups and downs and the little jumps and little bridges and.
Gotcha.
I think there's one in Issaquah, I believe, and maybe in Leavenworth too. So they've drawn some local inspiration on that.
Great.
As we continue to get more information and more shovels in the ground on some of these different things, we'll definitely continue to make announcements. The big project that's in the works right now, or I guess a couple others just to mention, Domery Park, which is the newest amenity over in Tumble Creek, that just finished, and that was a large grassy play area where you could do soccer, football, and then they've got these cool climbing boulders. They've got pickleball and basketball, and that ties in with the amenity from a couple years ago called Paintbrush Lakes. And then the paved trail system all ties back in with the Tumble Creek amenity core, their swim center, their beautiful great house that was built a couple years ago, their clubhouse, and the pro shop. And so that that just got paved a couple weeks ago, so it's looking really good. Just the amount of sod that they put down to build that field was pretty mind-blowing. And then the big one that's in the works is Nelson Lakes. So that's over on the Suncadia side, past the Nelson Farm Pool, and just another amenity where you could hike around or put a little paddleboard or kayak in and mess around on, but just real pretty to look at. There's custom home sites that are in that neighborhood, but it's also a common amenity where anybody can go down there and explore.
I remember. I think Jeff Rao had talked to our group about that too, and there was some sort of fascinating, like it's a huge body of water. I'm not sure, there were a couple stats to it, but it's supposed to be pretty, phenomenal and look obviously more natural, but it just is going to be a nice amenity and very appealing for the homeowners that are over there.
Yeah, it is looking really good. So they have everything lined. They're kind of putting the sand or fine gravel in now. So it's getting to the point real soon where they'll start filling it up with water. And I forget some of the stats too, but I know one of the development guys said once they start filling it up with water, because of how many millions of gallons it will be, it's going to take 41 days to fill the lakes.
Okay, yeah. Crazy.
But yeah, that whole new neighborhood, at least the phase one, the roads will be paved here probably late summer. They'll start filling up the lakes probably September. So yeah, by the end of the year, that's really gonna look good. And there's a couple more phases within that neighborhood.
Would you, on the top of your head, do you know what the lots are starting at?
In the 300s.
In the 300s, okay.
And then yeah, so that would be like a green belt site, and then they'll go. I'm not even sure what they'll top out at ultimately, because there's some beautiful sites on the very end, kind of phase two, that will be overlooking the river even and looking back to the lodge that are pretty spectacular. But yeah, wide variety of price points, and kind of the general Suncadia market. I mean, that's been the case for a while, but certainly right now there's just a really nice selection of them on the market. Condos, as anywhere from studio condos to the 2-bedroom condos. Land, starting in the 300s. And then, I mean, we've got homes between, 1,000 square feet and about 10,000 square feet. So there's a wide range of sizes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, somebody might come in and say they want 1,800 square feet. Somebody the next day might come in and say they want 5,000 square feet. We kind of feel like we have something for everybody.
Yep.
Depending on what the goals are. We're seeing a lot, as you can imagine, more and more people looking to relocate here, certainly from the Seattle area, but even from out of state. Just seeing this more and more of, there's a school bus route that goes through Suncadia now. That's they didn't have that when I first started here, but that's been fun just to see more and more families, more and more kids in the school district, more and more retirees, people working from home, just a real diverse range of ages and how they're using the place, and just the the second home element, just because for so many of our owners it's so easy to get to, from Seattle or East Seattle, Greater King County. That's what I always get most excited about, is just how often people are able to use their home, because it's so drivable. They don't have to get on a plane or get on a ferry or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, literally from our house, it's an hour and 15-minute door to door. So
yeah, pretty tremendous, right? From being downtown Seattle.
Being in a completely different, space, it just is climate, everything. So well, it looks like
and then wintertime, it's hard to think about winter now that we're in summer, but yeah, just so many activities in the wintertime too that we've talked about before, just the cross-country skiing, the snowshoeing, the sledding hills, the ice skating. So it really is a 4-season community, 4-season resort. And it just, continue. And we're actually, I got this update from Design Review the other day. We're at a 1,002 completed homes now in Suncadia. So
yeah, amazing.
not counting all the ones that are under construction. And even down in Nelson Lakes, it's kind of bizarre. There's a home that's in the framing stage. There's a custom home being built among all the infrastructure and amenities that are going in Nelson Lake. So they've got the right idea, though. When they're finished with their home, they know everything will be completed around them.
Yep, for sure. We have a question about the lakes and whether it'll be stocked with fish.
Say that again, if there'll be stocked with fish?
Yeah.
Very possibly. It won't be immediately, just because you have to let the vegetation around it grow. Because what we found, like in Paintbrush Lakes, they did stock one year there, but it was just too soon where it didn't have the vegetation. So the eagles and the hawks loved it. It was like just a nice fishbowl for them, but wasn't great for anybody wanting to fish. But yeah, in a few years, when the vegetation around those lakes provide a little bit more shade and a little bit more places for fish to hide. I mean, there's always ponds in Tumble Creek and Suncadia that get stocked pretty much every year. So that's definitely in the conversation.
Okay. Is there anything you want to touch on as far as like how the market's doing right now and how you kind of see, I guess, finishing off the rest of the year?
Yeah, we're cautiously optimistic, just because, last year was such a wild ride. But yeah, I think we've got just a, really nice selection of inventory on the market, new construction, resale, variety of price points, because that was part of the problem, this time last year, we didn't have any inventory. And then, yeah, just seeing some wonderful, clients coming over here, wanting to, spend, 6 months, 12 months out of the year over here. So we've been really, really fortunate. And then I think, whether you're in Seattle or here, just if you're gonna finance, just really, connect with a good lender. We've got lender connections. I know you do too. Because there's some great opportunities in the market, and some great ways to leverage, buy downs and different rate programs that can be really powerful to create some great buying opportunities. So I think the term that you hear a lot are these hot and confused buyers, right? So I think things like you're doing, Ashley, to educate folks and lenders are doing, that just helps these buyers achieve the dreams and their goals.
Yep. Sooner than later too, because I think a lot of people just think that they can wait for something to happen, whether there's interest rates or in the market, the economy, whatever it is. Sometimes you just got to pull the trigger and do it now.
Yeah, and it's I'd say a lot of the buyers here right now, certainly they have all the questions about growth and future plans and rates and market and all that, but ultimately it comes down to family and usage. It's like how many, we have buyers tell us all the time. They come in, I've got 5 more summers with my kids in the house, or whatever that might be. And that's the timing that you mentioned. I remember years ago seeing a bumper sticker, don't postpone joy. I thought that relates real well to real estate, I think. But
well, and that ties in nicely too to people who are not maybe in the position where their kids are moving and they know that they want to end up in the community. I mean, you could always purchase a home and then put it in the rental pool, right? Use it when you want to, but it turns into more kind of an investment at that point, and then you could transition when the timing is good for you to actually use it. But the rental pool is still doing very well, and I'm assuming it's the same kind of program, the Suncadia rental pool program.
Yeah, it's kind of that Suncadia Hyatt program through Coral Tree Hospitality, and it's just I think just whether it's real estate, property management, anything, kind of adjusting to trying to remember what was that pre-pandemic normal, right? And because what happened kind of during COVID is leisure business, that because we were such a drive to destination, that was massive, but you didn't have Microsoft, Amazon, the group business. You didn't have the weddings and the reunions. So what we're seeing on the property management side is just kind of a shift back to more of that normal balance of seeing some great group business coming back, wedding business coming back. It's like, gosh, it seems like just about everybody I know that's not married is getting married this summer, it seems like. So yeah, just all that, everybody seems to be catching up on the corporate retreats and the wedding business, and then the leisure business is kind of normalizing a little bit more, just as people are getting on planes again and traveling internationally again. But it's still just so easy to get to, right? An hour, 2 hour drive from most of our clientele.
Yep. I mean, you could do day trips if you want. So it's special place. Anything else you want to touch on?
I think just from your team and just the brokerage community in general, just we're a member of the MLS, obviously. So just anything we can do to continue to create those relationships and referrals, partnership really, I think, is the best word for it. If anybody in King County and greater Seattle area has, clients that might be interested, we're happy to help however we can, whether it's helping arrange a golf round or, an overnight stay or whatever. And just, make sure folks that are interested are able to get that full experience of what Suncadia and Tumble Creek and those lifestyles are all about.
It looks like we have one more question, is when the shopping area is supposed to start. We kind of answered that we don't really have a time frame, I guess, at the moment, but they're going through design.
Yeah, they're investing a lot of money this year on the site work, or site planning, architectural design, already having those meetings with potential chefs and retailers. That's been pretty fun to see and hear about. So I think they're getting a really good sense of who will be operating the different pieces within the village. And then we should be kind of have everything ready, or I don't know, ready, it's probably not the right word, but have a lot of that design stuff pretty far along this year, because that was already budgeted for. And then just the market and sales activity will kind of help dictate whether it's phased construction like you suggested, or kind of get going right away. But yeah, that's what we're all anxious to hear, is when do the shovels first go in the ground. And that's why that's one of the big reasons we all come to work every day, to help achieve that goal, get that village built.
And just to confirm too, when you're talking about where the everything is funded, it's funded because of the fees that you pay up front, obviously with, I know there's a special word for it. When you close, what is that called?
Well, yeah, it's not so much the community enhancement fund, but that's a unique, right, closing cost when buyers close in here. That's basically a donation to the local community, right? Which most recently, like, that would have funded the 4th of July fireworks display in Cle Elum, and we've gotten some great grants out of that for our local Rotary Club, where we rebuilt the Cle Elum City Park. They just finished phase 1 of the new skate park in the Cle Elum City Park, which was really cool. So that really truly is a community fund. But I'll try to kind of clarify that. So like Suncadia Real Estate, we're an independent brokerage, but and then you've got the on-site property management, which is Coral Tree, through kind of the Hyatt booking engines. But the actual ownership group, and it's the same managing partner since the very beginning, but the ownership group, they are the ones that like operate the golf courses, operate the restaurants, operate the club amenities. And then they're the ones that pay for the development. Like they're the ones that pay for the Nelson Farm pool, or the pump track, or Nelson Lakes and all the infrastructure around there, Domery Park. And the way they fund those projects, they fund them up front with their own cash, but it's basically funded by, those new neighborhood sales, primarily, certainly to some degree from the resale business, just it's essentially a reinvestment of the commissions and mainly the property sales, the first time a property sells. So the biggest thing that funds that is like when a buyer comes in, like if you bring a buyer in and they buy a property in Nelson Lakes, that type of real estate transaction is, the new development. That's the biggest piece of the funding. So,
Gotcha.
the more successful that like a new neighborhood like Nelson Lakes is, the quicker the village gets built.
Good. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and it's the reinvestment by the ownership group. So like hamburgers, I always think about that. It takes you got to sell a lot of hamburgers to build a village. It's easier to sell the land and let that fund the projects. But yeah, and I think just like your family, when you bought in here, that helps, fund these future amenities and projects. So I think people can feel real good about that when they're doing business in here.
Yep, definitely. Well, thank you. I don't think we have any other questions, but really, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity, and keep up the great work. These webinars are wonderful.
Great. All right. Well, have a wonderful weekend. We'll chat with you soon.